Hey everybody, this is Blake here. I'm going to be reviewing Premium Rush, but heads up, I currently have a cold, so if I sound off in this video, that is my excuse. But on to the movie. When I first saw the trailer for it, I was more amused than intrigued. It looked okay, but at the same time, it felt like something they should have made, in the 90s, where you had a bunch of movies where the protagonist was this non-action protagonist who had a non-action talent, but he's forced to use that talent against terrorists or criminals or whatever. As a kid, I enjoyed that stuff, but I'm not sure if they'd hold up well as an adult. After all, the plots were always very absurd, but, as a kid, you never cared about any of that shit. So, with Premium Rush, I decided, it could be a throwback. I couldn't tell, or it could be dated even before it came out. But I'd watch it as long as there was nothing else that interested me more in the theaters. So I checked it out, and you know what? I had a lot of fun with it. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a good movie? Probably not, but I did think that it was a very entertaining movie. It's one of those films, though, that you really have to consider what is said about it, and whether the good sounds appealing to you or whether the bad just seems like it's going to be really distracting for you. The first and most obvious example is that it's not really interested in the script. It's interested in showing off its gimmick. There's a lot of crazy bicycle stunts that look really good on screen. The director always knows where to place the camera so he can frame the action perfectly. The editing is very tight, but not to the point where it ever becomes incomprehensible. The direction in general is very energetic, very stylish. There's never anything really creative or new about it. It uses pretty much tricks from other movies. For example, it reminded me a lot of Indiana Jones, where when he has to go somewhere, they'd show the map and there'd be an arrow pointing to the direction to wherever he's going. Or it reminded me of Sherlock Holmes, where the main guy will be riding his bike and he has to imagines the different routes he could take, and he has to choose the one where he won't get injured. That reminded me a lot how Sherlock Holmes would consider all these different scenarios in his head, and we'd see all those scenarios, and he'd have to choose what's the best one. But all these tricks and bits of style keep things from becoming stale, because when you come down to it, this movie is mostly bike riding, and that's not really interesting to watch, but the director always finds a way to keep things moving really quickly, but never to the point where I felt it became exhausting or it ran out of steam. But it's definitely a director's movie, but you might be bothered by it because there isn't a whole lot of attention to the script. And a lot of people really just want more story over style. I can respect that. And with this film, it's not a bad script, but at the same time, it's one of those scripts that it really doesn't want to get in the way of the bike riding and the style. For example, in most of these movies, they always have these real ambitious plots where I was expecting, he was going to have to save the city from terrorists, or what he'd carry would involve millions of dollars of drug money or something like that. But it actually has a really simple plot. The main character is a bike courier who is given an envelope from an acquaintance, and he has to take it to some place. Then he's stopped by some mysterious villain, and he realizes that what's in the envelope is much more than he thought it was. So now he's being chased by the cops, etc. But at the same time, all it is a ticket that's worth some money, and this triad gang wants it, and the poor bad guy, he has a gambling addiction, and when he defends himself, he accidentally kills a gangster, so he's pretty much being forced to get this ticket. There's no heavy conspiracy here. There's nothing really overblown about the plot. It's like the director knew how absurd it is, so he wanted to scale it down so it's not too unrealistic. Yet at the same time, it could also just be that he doesn't want the plot to overtake the action. So I don't really know, but you might really be bothered by that. You want maybe a more ambitious, elaborate story where he does do something really important, or maybe you'll appreciate how simple it is. But you have to really consider that. I personally was cool with it. It kept things from becoming too ridiculous for me. but not everybody's going to agree. Another thing that you need to consider is the acting. The actors are all very charismatic. Once again, they're very energetic with all their the delivery of their lines. The dialogue is pretty stylized, and that's going to be kind of a problem because you're going to think maybe these people are pretty phony. They aren't acting like real human beings. They're acting more like movie characters who are much wittier, much snappier, etc. But it's one of those things where you just have to decide what you want out of it. To me, I thought the acting was good because, the actors themselves never slowed down. They never became lazy or lethargic in their performances. They're always real, like I said, high on energy, and that helped keep the non-action sequences entertaining. One of the big problems with action movies in general is usually they're good when it comes to the action, but when it comes to the more character-oriented moments, they're either boring or annoying, like the Transformers movies. So I thought that was a good thing, but you might think that the acting is just too over-the-top and hammy and just phony, I guess. My favorite actor was definitely Michael Shannon, who plays the villain. He's a lot of fun. He's probably the most over-the-top, and that says a lot. But at times I actually felt bad for him, and that's one thing. I'm not really sure if the movie did this intentionally, but the main guy is kind of a douchebag, but at the same time he's not a bad person at all. But you definitely get the impression that he looks down on people who don't share his feelings, his outlook on life, etc. Like there's this one part where he talks to a former I don't know if it was a friend, acquaintance, but at a college of some sort. And he's just totally blowing off this guy for no reason. And the only thing we can guess is it's because the guy chose a lifestyle he didn't agree with, which was, being a lawyer or wearing a suit. And that's kind of stupid, but if that's what he believes, he believes. Whereas the bad guy, Michael Shannon's character, he's a cop with an addiction. He never does anything overtly evil, and as he becomes more and more, I guess, villainous, it's only out of desperation, because if he doesn't get the ticket, he's going to die. So I'm not sure if they were intending for that or not, but at least it was interesting. What else can I say? If I have one problem, and this is a debatable problem, it's that I wasn't sure I liked how they kept doing like these flashbacks where you'd see a character and they kind of flash back to how they got involved in the story in the first place. But at the same time, that also might be one of the things that kept it from becoming stale, because it's very difficult to do this type of movie, especially when it's so gimmicky, based on a gimmick that doesn't really interest me, and that's, of course, biking. But so I'm not really sure if that's a criticism. Maybe if they took that out, it would have been much worse. So I don't know. It reminds me of the Fallen, which I just watched on DVD with Denzel Washington, where I felt that maybe they should have cut out the parts that make it too obvious that Denzel's being stalked by a demon. I think they should have been more ambiguous. But at the same time, if they did that, maybe I would have been more annoyed at the revelation. Like, that's just stupid. Who knows? So it's one of those things that I don't really know if it's better or worse. But all in all, I enjoyed the movie. It was what I hoped it would be. It was nonstop. It was entertaining. It was pretty exciting, and it was pretty stylish. But at the same time, if you want more of a story, you're not going to get it. The characters, there's not much in terms of any kind of development there. The protagonist pretty much ends the movie the way he begins. So you really have to consider all of that. But would I recommend it? If it sounds like something that you would enjoy, absolutely. I think it's at least a matinee in that regard. But if it just sounds too ridiculous to you, too far-fetched, and you just think you're going to be baffled by how absurd everything is, I'd say it's a strong rental, but nothing more. So you have to make that decision yourself. I did not do a written review of this, so that's all you're going to hear about it from me. Follow me on Twitter, go to my website, etc. I keep saying etc. in this video. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.